Do you want to become a permanent part of the channel? Check out the Alliteration Gaming Patreon. Here you'll find different tiers that all let you get involved in my videos, as well as provide you with a shout out, exclusive Discord access, and the ability to see my content early and ad free. Now if you're new here, you're gonna need an account on the UGN site. This will let you sign up for events, locate stores near you, and of course accrue those redemption points to use in the loyalty shop. You can even snag yourself 50 bonus points right now if you let me refer you. Until August 30th, when you're signing up, just click on Content Creator and type my channel name in the box. Regardless of how you do it though, thanks for being part of the Alliteration Nation. Now, let's get on to the video. It's been a while, guys. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration Gaming video. My name is Levi, and this is our, well, not so weekly anymore Market Watch series. If you guys aren't in the know, Wealthy Aspirations is a little bit of a Market Watch series I used to do every single Wednesday, but as a lot of you also know, my life has gotten real busy in the last like 6 months or so, between having to get a real job and also having to do a lot more Jasco work. One of those is really cool, one of those is not so cool, but I digress. This is not a life update video. This is a finance video, boys. It's time to get into these set 5 prices. Every day I feel like I wake up and I see some crazier and crazier TCG player action going on with some of these undaunted raid cards, and it was time. It was time for a phoenix to rise from the financial ashes here and do some set 5 wealthy aspirations. Guys, let's take a look at this market now. This one's going to be a bit of a fusion of our previous 2 wealthy aspirations methods. I used to just go like rarity by rarity across every set and look at everything and just like point out things that caught my eye. Eventually I transitioned into more like hand picking some cards here and there to talk about, usually like 10 to 12 or so every week. We're going to be doing a little bit of a hybrid here. We are going to go over each rarity page, but not like scrutinize it, just to kind of look at it globally, and then we're going to look at a couple cards that I've hand picked out. But we are going to start, you know, rarity onwards. Another reason I want to kind of like view the whole pages here and there is because I'm not sure if this is going to be a thing that I have time to do once again every week. It really just remains to be seen. So I wanted this to be kind of like, for the time being at least, a bit more of an all-encompassing wealthy aspirations. So we're actually going to start with the promos here because I want to start specifically with the Chrome rares. And interestingly enough, there's not a Chrome rare slot anymore. They actually just list them under the promos here, and they're all the way at the bottom because there's not really any market prices for them. The Chrome rares for this set have honestly kind of been acting like the previous set's Chrome rares, anywhere between like, you know, 1,000 to 2,000. I don't think any of them are really selling for like above the 1,000 mark. Maybe a 1,200 on like a really nice rejuve. Like obviously like or like a schoolyard, the number is very important too. But for the most part, you know, like let's take a look at this this Vast Hybrid here. Obviously none of these really have like sales history. I think the only ones that have really actually been sold so far or like on Facebook and Discord and stuff, but if you look, like there's like a Vast Hybrid for like 1,000, which I think is pretty much the average for these. I think these are maybe a little less desired than the previous ones because they're not like characters that you can use if you want to. You know, they're more like attacks, but I don't know. I think they still hold very similar collector's value, so I wouldn't be so. I don't think they're going to be cheaper by any means, but I don't know if they'll really cross this 1,000 threshold. Like there's a Rejuve Smash listed for 15. I know for a fact that a couple of these have been sold for 1,000. I've personally bore witness. Yeah, I think bore witness to a couple of these selling for 1,000. So I think that's really where you should be looking to spend your money on Chromes. 2,000 for a Spiral Blast here, I think is crazy. I don't know. You know the oh no, sorry, old man Sean O'Brien. Didn't mean to call you crazy, but you know, I think like, I don't know, waifu tax is something to consider here, but I think Nejire is like just not a super popular waifu character. I could be totally wrong there. But as far as like what this card itself is, I mean, these are all fairly played cards. I think, like, honestly speaking, Stalagmite is probably gonna be the least played one. I have yet to see this card sleeved up, and then Schoolyard is more of like a Mirio only card for the most part. Then Kraken, Rejuve, and Spiral Blast are all super versatile. I see these cards literally everywhere. So again, I don't know if these are gonna be played with, so I don't think that I would like factor that into much more. Like I said, you know, it's Chromes, guys. These are very much still they're kind of just worth what you can find another person to pay for them are. So just keep that in mind. Now looking at like the rest of the promos here, the provisional promos all kind of settled around like 20 bucks or so. Maximum Overhaul's like a little bit more because it's definitely the best one of this trio, but these also aren't legal yet, so I wouldn't really like weigh on these prices very much. You know, even if you want the foils of these, like there's no reason not to just wait, because you can't even play them yet, so like they probably just will go down. Like logically speaking, they're probably just gonna go down. But let's look at these Plus Ultra promos, and these all kind of settled around like 10 bucks, like literally almost all of them are exactly $10 here. But the two I really want to focus on are these guys right here: Trigger Transformation and Trigger. These are the not $10 ones. One of these is currently like 20 bucks, and then the other is sold out. Because frankly put, this is literally Mimic's kit. If you want to play Mimic, you need these cards. I think Transformation is a little less like essential. Like I could see playing like, you know, only 2 of these or even none of these. This one gets away with it more. But even so, the sales history is still pretty consistent at 20 bucks here. So I don't think that's an insane price for this card right now. Trigger, on the other hand though, if you're playing Mimic, you need 4 of these in your deck. On all 3 of your Mimic symbols, you need 4 of these in your deck. It's just no questions asked. It's literally no questions asked. You need these. And they've been selling, you know, also fairly consistently for like 12 to 15, but now they're sold out. Mimic was like, there were like, I think 2 Mimics on a win-in, and like in general doing pretty well in the most recent RLE. That deck does look like it has some pretty serious legs, and also a lot of people like that character. He's very fun. He's very enjoyable. So like these, I think, are the 2 big ones here to really keep in mind, especially Trigger more so, but I think both of them are very much worth keeping in mind. These are going to be the 2 Plus Ultra promos that I think are as close to like the chase ones, right? You know, we don't really have like a Season the Advantage or a Teamwork or a Red Guard or anything like that in this set. These are all just kind of like decent cards, you know? Like these are all just very much $10 cards. And honestly speaking, Trigger and Trigger Transformation are also very much like $10 cards, but you need them if you want to play this new set 5 character, and a lot of people do, so they're willing to pay a little more right now. So be careful when you're buying these, you know, don't let yourself get juiced too much. If you're selling these, juice a little bit if you can, by all means. It's, you know, it's these are definitely ones that you need to be wary of price-wise out of the whole pack. Now let's move on into these secret rares, guys. Secret rares changed a lot this set. There are no longer only 2 a case. There are 6 a case, 6 different types, and you get 1 of each per case. And as far as the prices on those, it's affected them quite a lot. Going between the XSRs and then the normal SRs here, the XSRs are all honestly kind of crazy. Like this 140, this is not a real price. There's no market price for it. This is maybe a little real, and then like these are not real. Honestly, the market prices for these are kind of what I would look at. I think like 55 and 50 for these 2 is very much what I would expect them to settle at. They're just a little juiced up right now. Trigger, I also would expect to settle around 40. This Tetra Terror at probably a very similar spot, and then maybe Spear and Shield at like 40, 50. I could see myself paying like 50 bucks for pretty much all of these, so I wouldn't go by the listing prices too much right now. I would probably aim for more around 50. Again, my word's not the law by any means. I just think that like based on like what these cards do, you know, their power level, how often they're played in decks, you know, the fact that, you know, like it's the fact that like they're not that crazy different. I think 50 for these 5 is reasonable. Now I keep saying these 5 and all of these guys. I have not mentioned the elephant here, which is Repeated being out of stock with a market price of 70 bucks. That makes sense, guys, because now we're going to bounce over to the regular secret rares. This card sold out at 50 bucks. Let's talk about Repeated. Let's talk about Repeated 100% Smash, guys. This might be the best card in the game. It's the best card in the set by none. It's the best secret rare by none. This card's actually just ridiculous. It's totally ludicrous. It's overstated. It's got all these keywords. It's got these crazy abilities. Literally, if you're on these 3 symbols, like you're just playing 4 of this card, right? Like even if you're not a punch deck, you're probably playing at least 3 of this card. This card's just so important right now. It's selling like hotcakes, you know. Started at 40, worked its way up, really hardcore selling at 50, one sold at 60. This isn't changing anytime soon, guys. It's just not. This is the hottest card in the market right now. Literally, if you don't have your 4 of these, you probably should not be playing these symbols competitively. You can make do with 3, but if you want to play these symbols competitively hardcore, unless you're just playing like a completely different deck. But honestly, maybe you shouldn't be, right? Like a lot of the Life and Void decks, no matter what they were doing before, they're now playing a punch deck because having Repeated and Rejuve is so important. I still think the defining factor of this meta is finding the deck that plays Repeated Rejuve the best, and like we saw that, right? You know, Deca 2 was going crazy he would just rejuve. The Void Eraser heads are, you know, probably the best way to play repeated rejuve. I think Life Overhaul is right behind them. Life Midoriya 2 and Life Midoriya 4 I think are also right behind them. I still think, you know, Order Fourth Kind I think goes absolutely insane with this card. I think this card's just like the defining factor of the format, and the only reason we didn't see that press as hard in this most recent webcam RLE is because I think that most people don't own 4 of these yet, right? The 2 Void Erasers that had 4 repeated and 4 rejuve, they're the ones that went super hard in Top Cuts, right? I saw tons of decks that I went, they should probably be playing 4 repeated. Why aren't they? They were playing like 1 or 2, and I was like, guarantee you it's because they don't have 4 yet. I think if you really want to play these decks hardcore competitive right now, you got to just like bite the bullet and shell out the $200 for your playset of these guys. This is the most staple of staple secret rares that we've ever seen, and I think like the thing about like some of the past ones, right? Nitro was in a very similar spot where if you wanted to play like the Fury package on those symbols, you just needed 4 Nitro, and then if you want to play other decks that just liked the card pool clear, you needed 4 Nitro. But like there were worlds where you played those symbols without Nitro. There are few worlds where you play Life, Order, or Void without repeated or without a punch package in general because of how strong this card is, and so that's why this card, on top of just being a secret rare, right, it's hard to pull. That's why this thing is $50 right now, and why I think it has nowhere to go but up. Though I don't think this card gets cheaper than $50 anytime soon. Maybe it finds its way back down to 40, but I think just given off of like, you know, as someone who was able to look at literally every deck list for the RLE, so many people were not playing the amount of these that they should, and it's because they don't have them yet. And that's why I don't see it going down anytime soon, is because a lot of people still need repeateds. Now, that was a long tangent, guys, but it's very important. Probably the most important thing I'll say all video is repeated. You can turn the video off right now and you've learned the most important thing, but there is more to talk about. Let's look at our other secret rares. Phantom Threat and Manifest kind of make sense as like $30 cards, right? Phantom Threat is really just a Mirio only card, unless you want to play Unrivaled Combatant, his spam that zone changes just to play this card. I don't think that's particularly worth it, but maybe it is. Either way, I'm going to consider this for the time being mostly a Mirio only card. So it being 30 kind of makes sense. And a lot of the Mirios aren't even like 4xing this. They're kind of like teching it more so because you don't want to draw multiples of them. Manifest is in a similar boat. You know, it's a $35 card right now. They're pretty much selling around that price too. I think you see a handful more of Manifests as far as like the other characters go. I think this one though has a little bit more room to fall. I think you could easily pay 20, 25 for this before you start paying a 30. However, they have started getting really crazy lately. Maybe like, you know, some panic buys right before events, who knows. PSCs are going on right now, so it's kind of hard to predict some of these prices, and it's really crazy right now in like 35 to 45. I think this card is I don't personally think this card's worth that much. I don't think it's even like a staple in Amajiki himself. However, if you're gonna go for decks like Amajiki or any other, you know, Error Chaos characters that really want to play hardcore aggro and play that whole like, you know, Bright Future Manifest like 8 action type of engine to just like go super duper crazy on turn 2. If you're playing those types of decks, yes, you need 4 of this card. It's literally unplayable, you know, without it. However, I haven't really seen those decks go crazy yet, so kind of remains to be seen if this one will hold its price point. And to be fair, it could be another repeated issue, right? Maybe we haven't seen those decks go crazy because they don't all have their manifests yet. So the secret rares, like I think these 3 are kind of remain to be seen. Now these bottom 3 here, Spear and Shield, very niche card, very $10 card. Tetra Terror is okay, very solid echo move, but if you're not constantly activating the static of it, playing it from a different zone, it's a little tough to make full use of. I think Overhaul is like the most meta character that will be using this, and I've seen even some of the Overhaul decks kind of move away from this, so $20 is fine. Chronostasis Trigger really surprises me, holding $30 and selling at it too. I think these 3 symbols are so niche right now. I think they're all very cool, right? Like Order Evil got so much from this set, but I don't think they're particularly meta right now. I think they're still just very like cute, cool symbols, not necessarily like meta symbols. I'm surprised to see this one holding so much. I think you could get this card for a lot cheaper, and I'm gonna hold that belief and expect this to go down until I see like actual like format affecting strategies that are really heavily utilizing this. But for now, I have not seen this thing sleeved up in a whole lot really, and much less in like the top cuts. It's a great piece for sure, but I don't think it warrants this price tag quite just yet. So that's our secret rare discussion, guys. Let's move on to the ultra rares, and this is where things are going to start to get a lot simpler, guys, because the ultra rares for this set look almost exactly like a lot of our previous sets, and by that I mean we have like 3 to 5 like solid, like potentially $10 upwards pieces, and then everything else is $1 or $2. Everything else is $1 or $2. Obviously, Rejuve is the elephant here. This card has kind of been holding like 25 to 30 bucks for a hot minute now, and it's finally that bubble has finally bursted, or just burst. I think I just have to say burst. That bubble has finally burst, and we've got 2 left in stock at 50 bucks here, which is crazy daisy. I don't think people are gonna be paying this anytime soon, but these last 2 that sold for 35, I think it'll settle at that new norm, and it's going to kind of become the Excited for Blood of the set, essentially, which, again, is not surprising. Basically, everything I just said about repeated Smash, apply that logic to Rejuve Smash. You don't even have to play a full punch package to play this card like an absolute monster. Most decks aren't even getting this enhance off. They don't even have a way to get this enhance off. It's literally just for this response. Card's absolutely nuts. This is, again, another very, very, very pushed card from the set that I think a lot of decks are just going to want to utilize just because they can. And so, again, I saw a lot of decks, you know, not even with it just being a UR and not an SR, I saw a lot of decks just not playing the copies of this card that they should be, and the decks that were playing the copies that they should be because they actually owned them were the ones, a lot of the ones in our top table. So Rejuve is obviously the big one to look out for. I expect it to settle around 35 once it calms down from this 50 bucks. Everything else, guys, it's cheap. Bullet Punches is randomly 12 bucks right now. It'll settle back at 6. This is like 6 bucks, you know, this is like 10 bucks. This is like, you know, 7 bucks now, 10 bucks is the market price. I think these 4 warrant that perfectly fine. Everything after this, guys, these are tech pieces, man. This is a niche card. This is a sideboard piece. Only Fat Gum really plays this, unless you're Caleb. Caleb's Mirio deck playing this was one of the coolest things in the RLE, but I don't think that's enough to shoot this card's price up. You know, you play this if you're Lock, you play this if you're Mimic, maybe you tech it otherwise. And then these are just kind of all like really, really okay tech pieces. Again, you know, only Toya plays this. Only, I don't know, Moonfish plays this. Only Midoriya 4 plays this, and even then he like really doesn't. This is like a niche 2 check, you know, Momo plays 1 of this, and then I don't know who the heck plays this, right? Like, these are just all super duper niche cards. Again, they just stuffed like 3/4 of the URs as like, you know, these 1 or 2 characters plays this, or it's like a heavy tech sideboard piece. Like, why is Stopping for Breakfast an ultra rare? How bizarre, man. And that's just why the DUR market will continue to just suffer like this, while we continue to only get like, you know, 5-6 cards max. You know, we saw the same thing in set 3, right? Twisting Azure Inferno was like the big dog, and then like Piercing Needle and Stun Grenade would like act up every now and then, but mostly be $10 cards. You know, in set 4 is like the same thing. Vile Season was the big $20-$30 card, and then we saw like, you know, Double Trouble would act up a little bit, Needle Stab would act up a little bit, but like that's kind of like where it would plateau, and it's basically the same thing with the URs here. Now, the fact that the secret rares are going so crazy this set price-wise makes me say it's kind of still a little bit more worth it to purchase boxes, just because you're gonna get like 1 of these guaranteed, and it's like at worst like, you know, 10 bucks off your box. At best, your box was practically free. It's still a bit of a gamble to take, but even if you meet somewhere in the middle, 30-20 bucks off your box is really good, just with your 1 guaranteed secret rare. So I think it's still pretty worth it to buy boxes right now. If anything, just to hunt for like repeateds. You know, if you get the repeated Rejuve box, like that's literally your whole box. So it's like your entire box right there, which is very, 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 very dope. But for the most part, don't expect to find much value in the rest of your ultra rares, passing in a repeated or something like that. Now, we're gonna look into the XRs a little bit, and TCG Player actually did a cool thing with this set. Is because the characters are their own character rarity now, XR character is also like its own slot you can search by. So we can look at just the characters, and holy cow, guys, the characters this set are really, really crazy. I don't know what's going on. These are like pre-release prices, but we're not at pre-release anymore, guys. We're a couple weeks into the set being out, and these character prices are still crazy. And by that, I really mean like these kind of like these top couple rows. Let's look at those a little bit. Now, Nejire is the one I want to give the most credit for, right? Simply because potential waifu tax. I know I said she didn't have waifu tax with the Chrome Rare, but this is a little bit different story, right? We're working on much smaller margins here with a lot more room to increase. And these Nejires are actually selling for 30-40 bucks. The Nejire simps are coming out there to pick up these XR character cards. And so if you do get one of these, I would actually attribute a fairly real $30 or even $40 price tag to one of these. Now, past that, it's kind of hard to say. A lot of people do like Amajiki. He's only got the one sold for 40 here, so I'm not gonna put as much actual weight on his crazy prices here. I think you could fetch like a cool 20-25 bucks for one of these, because he's a very, well, I don't know, we thought he was a very popular character, then no one registered him for the RLE, so who really knows what's going on with Amajiki here? But I think I would attribute a little less weight than Nejire's crazy price tag. And then same goes for like Midoriya. Midoriya has like a few sold for like, 35, 50 a couple weeks ago, holy cow. But no listings at the moment, so he's in a bit of a weird spot, and same with like Kirishima, right? So these character prices are really weird right now. We have like some random ones being sold here and there, but I don't think I can put much weight in that. Nejire, I think you get 30 bucks for. Anyone else, I would say like 20 max. I don't think you're gonna find anyone. Again, if you find someone willing to pay those prices, more power to you, but I think on average 20 is probably what you're gonna look for. Fat Gum's also listed at like 50 right here, which is super duper silly, man. He's even seen a few sold at 20, so I definitely wouldn't put any weight on those right there. And then past those top two rows, they still are a little goofy. Rappa being out of stock at 18, that I can see. Rappa's really popular. But these other guys, Sakaki, Tabi, Chronostasis, like, these guys are kind of chumps, And then once we really get down here, they're like, okay, these are the characters that we really know that people don't really care about. These are definitely the ones that warrant 10 bucks a little bit more. I don't know why Toya is 25. Again, no market price. They're not actually selling at that, right? And then a lot of these others make sense. So the character rares, I think you could fetch 10 bucks for any of these, anyone in the Booney bin down here. But these top two rows, there's a little bit of room to juice, but not this $40-50 craziness, guys. Let's be a little bit real. Now, I want to look at the XRs here, guys, because the XR market is operating very similarly in that nothing's really settled yet. Right, some stuff like Rejuve makes sense, right, being out of stock because the UR is also practically out of stock. But if you look, as we just kind of scroll through these XRs, man, a lot of them still feel like they're at like crazy daisy pre-release prices. A lot of the XR URs are holding like a respectable 20 bucks, which is just awesome to see. A lot of these XR URs look really good. I think all of the URs, save for like stopping for breakfast, go full art because they're not anime screen caps. So seeing the XR URs go really hard is nice. And then like super choice ones, like Vast Hybrid's a great example here. Aries a great example. Even some of the ones that don't go full art, right, are really like normally when we're going through these XR pages, right, we start to hit like the $2 bin like on page 2 or so, and like we don't really hit the $2 bin until way later in here. Like some of these are really weird. Some of these don't really have like the market data to support themselves, right? But at the same time, a lot of these prices do also make a lot of sense. So in general, like I think at the moment, a few weeks into the set release is normally when all of these things start to really crumble. We're still seeing a lot of like $10, $15, $20 XRs. We're kind of starting to enter the booney bin now, and honestly, even some of these like this should not be $2. This is a really solid card. Foresight is like a really nice 0. It being $5, I think is kind of crazy. Takoyaki being only $5 is also kind of crazy. Like, see, some of these are still very surprising. Self-doubt, this is a fantastic spam for a lot of decks. $2 I think is wild. Now again, a lot of these are anime screen caps, so they do not go full art. So it kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it between here. But Red Riot's the coolest in learning to hard. These cards are awesome. These cards won Jose the freaking RLE, guys. And there's a lot of gems in here, so I really want you guys to kind of pay attention to these XR pages here and really pick out what is and what isn't going for the prices that they should be right now. And so following up, we're almost done here, guys. But following up with the XR pages here, I want to go through a few that I've kind of picked out that people have caught on to and some of the people have not caught on to, as far as just what I think might be some of the most expensive XRs. The ones to look out coming up here. The first one, to no surprise, it's Nice Try. This card is like easily one of the most hyped. If we're gonna count the starter deck cards as like commons, uncommons, this has like been heralded as like the best common from the set. Aggro decks love this card, and it's a starter deck XR as well, so it's even harder to get. So the XR prices for this guy are gonna be crazy. I think the few at 13 here, and the holy cow, someone bought 5 at $10 on like release day, basically. Holy cow, that's crazy. You made off like a bandit, whoever picked up these 5. This is one to watch out for as soon as these come in stock. If it's for like anything under $15, snap it up, guys. One of the biggest ones to look out for here. Calorie counter. This is another one. We saw so much calorie counter. Same as Nice Try. We saw so much calorie counter in this past RLE. It's another huge one. This sales history is insane. I would be surprised if this is real. I would be very surprised. 4 at 38 each. I'd be so surprised if this is real. I don't think that it's necessarily this much. But again, same thing. If you find these, if these come back into stock, like 15 or under, huge pickup. This card's massive. I think this card's gonna be played for a really long time on all 3 of these symbols, especially as a completely generic card. You don't have to play any package for this card, but also if you're playing Furies or Punches, 2 very popular packages on these 3 symbols. Amazing card. Syncs up beautifully with them. Keep an Airy safe. This is a 0 diff that hates on stun. Auto staple in our format till the end of time, and the XRs reflect that. People were really scooping these up in the last week or so at like $5-10 bucks. Amazing prices. Now they're a lot heftier. I would wait for this card to go down, but again, this is another one of those that I want you guys to keep a huge eye on. Next up is cooperation offer. Guys, thank you, Andrew Holder. This card is how you beat Mirio. This card is how you deal with Mirio. If you're a deck that can tutor this card, like the life decks can, if you can unflip it like a lot of the earth decks can, play the heck out of this card. We got no current listings, but they've sold quite a bit for 10 bucks. If they come back in stock anywhere near that, this is another really big pickup. Now, this one doesn't necessarily go full art or anything because it's an anime screen cap, but it does go from non-shiny to shiny, which is still a really big deal. It's a very strong tech piece to keep an eye on. Broken Psyche. Now, this is one that people have not caught on to yet. I think this card's huge. I think this card's insane. Especially in these good symbol decks that are just like piling up momentum nonstop. There's so many dunks in our format right now, guys. So many cards rely on like powerful to get really big, one-time damage pumps, big nukes, big sellouts. This just being one of the most efficient, it doesn't even remove itself. You don't even go minus on ready foundations to change the attack damage to 2. This card's crazy. If Amajiki catches on, this card will be even crazier because this card's really nuts in him. There's only 1 in stock right now at a few bucks, and they have been selling a little bit, but I think they're going to continue to be cheap until people really catch on to this card. So this is another one that I would keep an eye on. Heroic Assistance in a similar vein as well, just being really effective stun hate on symbols that don't have a lot of access to it, as in life and air. Good is very good at not getting stunned, but also if you want to pile these in on the good symbol as well and just super not get stunned, it's not a bad strategy, especially if Fourth Kind finds the way back into the meta. This one is the most pick it up at $2 and then it'll sit on your shelf and then maybe become really good one day, maybe very soon depending on where our format shifts. And then Trusted Assistant is another one that I'd love to keep an eye on here. At 5 bucks, I think this card is a steal. We have not seen those, played from zones other than the hand characters be super meta yet. Overhaul is the closest, and he doesn't really play the evil symbol, his only symbol on this card. But again, we had a Mimic on a win and in, although he doesn't really do that. He's a Shie Psychic guy, but doesn't do that. We had Tabe on a win and in. I think Chronostasis low-key has some real guns. Rappa, I think Rappa is wild. We just have not figured that character out yet. I think there's a lot of potentially really crazy players for this card, and if you can turn this card on, I think it's insane in your deck. Also, it goes full art. It's not an anime screen cap, guys. It's a very pretty XR. So another one to keep a big eye on if you plan on ever sleeving up these played from other than the hand guys and possibly doing well with them. Whew, holy cow, guys. That is our Wealthy Aspirations. This is going to be the longest Wealthy Aspirations ever, but we had so much to talk about. It's crazy because we didn't even mention any of the other sets, but I had so many words and so many thoughts about set 5 as a whole, and I think there's so many important things to know about set 5's prices right now, because it's acting in a way that we really haven't seen a set act quite just yet. The UR strategy is, exactly the same, but the chromes are back now, which affects a lot of things, not just the chrome prices themselves, but how much people are buying the set to hunt for them. The URs look the same, but the chromes are totally different. The secret rares are completely different this time around, and we're seeing the XRs for this set go really crazy. I kind of wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of these XRs are maybe short printed or just don't pop up a lot. It's mind-blowing that some of these are still so scarce, or maybe it's just because they're of cards that are so good that people are just hanging on to them, don't want to sell them anytime soon. Only time will tell. And if things drastically change anytime soon, could be some more Wealthy Aspirations in the future, so we can make sure we stay on top of all of that info. But in general, if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you liked it, I would love some feedback down below. And if you want to stay on top of the MHA CCG content as a whole, hit the subscribe button to get all of my videos shoved into your news feed. With that being said, I am voraciously out of breath, and I've got a nice coffee to finish here. So I'm gonna finish downing this bad boy and start getting ready for tonight's Wednesday Webcam Weekly. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video.